Welcome back to Joe's Stunner Boxing. I was very sad today to read of the death at only 46 years of age of Israel Vazquez, three-time super-bantamweight champion, terrifically exciting fighter, retired in 2010, fought for too long, to the point where he actually lost one of his eyes. I think he actually had it removed with a prosthetic eye put in because it was so badly damaged, and more of that in a moment. But he turned pro in 1995, so he had a 15-year career. He finished his career with 44 wins, 32 KOs, 5 defeats, 4 of them by stoppage and no draws. And he was only like 5'4", 5'5" tops, but a typical Mexican warrior. Died of cancer, very, very sad. And his career really was defined by 4 fights with the brother of one Manuel Marquez, who was a very good fighter in his own right, Rafael Marquez. 4 fights in his last 5 fights. All 4 of these Marquez fights were in his last 5 fights. He won 2 and lost 2. The first one was in 2007 when he retired after 7 rounds. That was for the WBC super bantamweight title, which he held. He was derided for quitting. Mexican fighters aren't supposed to retire after any amount of rounds. This was after 7. And also the cards were pretty tight. So aspersions were cast upon him. So he had the return later that year, 5 months later, and he stopped Rafael Marquez in 6 rounds. Both of those fights, terrific tear-ups, really, really good tear-ups. But the best was yet to come. Because in the third fight, the following year, 2008, these were 3 on the bounce for Vasquez. He won a split decision over 12 rounds in an absolute tear-up. I mean, those first 3 fights were incredible, and that took him to 2 wins and 1 defeat against Marquez. It totally answered the critics for retiring on his stool in the first fight. He then had 1 more winning fight, which was a 9th round TKO or a KO. I can't remember whether it was a TKO or a KO over Angel Priolo. And then he had a 4th fight with Marquez when he was clearly shot to bits, and Marquez stopped him in 3 rounds. And there's no doubt that with both these fighters, you know, that quartet of wars took so much out of them. And Marquez is a very, very underrated fighter, overshadowed by his more illustrious brother. But he finished with 49 wins, 37 KOs, 41 wins, 37 KOs, and 9 defeats, 7 by stoppage. So very much like Vasquez, he could be hurt and stopped, and but at the same time, kill or be killed. I mean, honest to God, go and have a look at the Vasquez Marquez fights. You will not be disappointed. Well, like I say, there was a little round robin going on with the WBC super bantam title. But prior to that, Vasquez had twice held the IBF super bantamweight title. No, I beg your pardon. He held the WBC super bantam title twice because he lost it and then won it to Marquez. But he was also IBF super bantam champion as well. And he was not to be sniffed at. I mean, that was he won the vacant title, but he defended it, I think, twice before switching over to the WBC belt, which he won off Oscar Larios. I mean, that's a good win in itself. Oscar Larios at the time was 56 wins, 3 defeats and 1 draw. And, he beat other good fighters, Ivan Hernandez, like Johnny Gonzalez. He stopped him in 10 rounds. He was a good fighter, another terrific lower weight fighter. He beat Jorge Julio, who I believe, is Jorge Julio still fighting, like picking up paychecks as a journeyman? Is that the Jorge Julio I'm thinking of? Because at the time Julio was 44 wins, 4 defeats. And Vasquez stopped him in 10. I mean, he went on this. He had a terrific career. He was stopped 4 times out of 5 defeats. But I mean, Oscar Larios he stopped him in 12 rounds. Did I say no? Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. He got stopped by Oscar Larios in 12, and then I think he beat him in 3 in a return. But the return, I want to say, was a few years later, maybe 2 or 3 years later. I'm doing this off memory, so I'm not. My memory might be playing tricks with me, but I'm sure they fought twice. And he got stopped in the first late, and then in the return he won. He won in 3 rounds. I'll have to check on that. Should have done my homework, shouldn't I? But never mind. The point is that this guy Vasquez, Israel Vasquez. I mean, go and have a look at him, because he's one of those fighters, kind of like Manuel Marquez, kind of like Larios. Johnny Gonzalez is another one. These were very, very good fighters in the early part of the first decade, shall we say, of the 21st century. And you should go and have a look at them, because they really did put on some great wars, some really competitive wars that I remember watching them, live, especially when I lived in America at the time. They'd show them on HBO, Showtime. Sometimes they'd make appearances on Friday Night Fights. It was all live stuff, and you just didn't know who was going to win. They were really, really good fights. So rest in peace to Israel Vasquez. 44 wins with 32 KOs, 5 defeats and no draws. A 3-time super bantamweight champ. Thanks for the memories. And yeah, if you got any comments, if you remember Mr. Vasquez, Senor Vasquez, of course, how could you forget him if you did see him? Leave them below. And of course, subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if you like the video. I'll speak to you soon. Bye for now.